several times in your investing career when you were confident enough in one idea to put a lot of your money into it, say 25% or more. I believe a couple of those cases were American Express and the Washington Post in the 70s, and I've heard you discuss your thinking on those. But could you talk about any of the other times you've been confident enough to make such a big investment and what your thinking was in those cases?
Charlie and I have been confident enough, if we were only running our own net worth, I'm certain a very significant number of times, if you go over 50 years, there have been a lot of times when you'd have put at least 75% of your net worth into an idea, aren't there, Charlie?
Well, but 75% of your worth outside Berkshire has never been a very significant amount.
Well, but I'm going back. Let's just assume it was. Let's just assume you didn't have Berkshire in the picture. There have been times, I mean, we've seen all kinds of ideas we would have put 75% of our net worth in.
Warren, there have been times in my life when I've had more than 100% of my net worth invested in things.
That's because you had a friendly banker, and I didn't. There have been times, well, initially I had several times I had 75% of my net worth in one situation. There are situations you will see, over a long period of time. I mean, you will see things that it would be a mistake if you're working with smaller sums. It would be a mistake not to have half your net worth in. I mean, you really do sometimes in securities see things that are lead pipe cinches, and you're not going to see them often, and they're not going to be talking about them on television or anything of the sort. But there will be some extraordinary things happen in a lifetime where you can put 75% of your net worth or something like that in a given situation. There are stocks. I mean, there's quite a few people in this room that have close to 100% of their net worth in Berkshire, and some of them had it for 40 or more years. Berkshire was not in the cinch category. It was in the strong probability category, I think. But I saw things in 2002 in the junk bond field. I saw things in the equity markets. If you could have bought Cap Cities with Tom Murphy running it in 1974, it was selling at a third or a fourth what the properties were worth, and you had the best manager in the world running the place, and you had a business that was pretty damn good, even if the manager wasn't. You could have put 100% of your net worth in there and not worried. You could have put 100% of your net worth in Coca-Cola earlier than when we bought it, but certainly around the time we bought it, and that would not have been a dangerous position. It'd be far more dangerous to do a whole bunch of other things that brokers were recommending to people. Charlie, you want to comment?
Yeah, the students of America go to these elite business schools and law schools, and they learn corporate finance the way it's now taught, and investment management is the way it's now taught. And some of these people write articles in the newspaper and other places, and they say, well, the whole secret of investment is diversification. That's the mantra. They've got it exactly back-assward. The whole secret of investment is to find places where it's safe and wise to non-diversify. It's just that simple. Diversification is for the know-nothing investor. It's not for the professional.
And there's nothing wrong with the know-nothing investor practicing it. It's exactly what they should practice. It's exactly what a good professional investor should not practice. But that's, there's no contradiction in that. A know-nothing investor will get decent results as long as they know they're a know-nothing investor, diversify as to time they purchase their equities and as to the equities they purchase. That's crazy for somebody that really knows what they're doing. And you will find opportunities that if you put 20% of your net worth in it, you have wasted the opportunity of a lifetime, in terms of not really loading up. And we've had the chance to do that way in our past when we were working with small sums of money. We'll never get a chance to do that working with the kinds of money that Berkshire does. We try to load up on things, and there will be markets when we get a chance to from time to time, but very seldom do we get to buy as much of any good idea as we would like to.
In the past, you've said for an investor, for 99% of investors, you should simply stick money in an index fund and let it go and don't worry about it. Those 1% of investors, choose your best 5 stocks and put a substantial amount of money in it. I'm just wondering, how about a strategy of perhaps buying 20 of the best stocks in America, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, whatever, the companies that have been around for centuries, or a century or decades or whatever, and just leaving it at that. Do you think that would outperform an index fund over the long term? And I want Charlie's opinion as well.
Well, it's a little bit of, I don't know whether you're saying the 20 largest companies, the 20 best, you might get different thoughts from different people on what they are. But I think probably the 20 you would pick would virtually match the results of an index fund. Who knows exactly which ones would be the best. But the real distinction, and Graham made this in his book, basically, is between the person who is going to spend an appreciable amount of time becoming something of an expert on businesses, because that's what stocks are, or the person who is going to be busy with another profession, wants to own equities, and actually will do very well in equities. But the real problem they have is that they may tend to get excited about stocks at the wrong time. Really, the idea of buying an index fund over time is not to buy stocks at the right time or the right stocks, it's to avoid buying them at the wrong time, the wrong stocks. So equities will do well over time, and you just have to avoid getting excited when other people are excited, or getting excited about certain industries when other people are. Trying to behave like a professional when you aren't spending the time and bringing what's needed to the game to be a professional. And if you're an amateur investor, there's nothing wrong with being an amateur investor. And you've got a very logical, profitable course of action available to you, and that is simply to buy into American business in a broadly diversified way and put your money in over time. So I would say your group of 20 will probably match an index fund, and you'll probably do well in that, and you will do well in an index fund. Charlie?
Well, I've got nothing to add, but I do think it's that knowing the edge of your own competency is very important. If you think you know a lot more than you do, well, you're really asking for a lot of trouble.
I'm very interested in your policies on diversification and also how you concentrate your investments. And I've studied your annual reports going back a good number of years, and there's been years where you had a lot of stocks in your marketable, equitable securities portfolio, and there was one year where you only had 3 in 1987. It seems that whenever you take a new investment, you never take less than about 5% and never more than about 10% of the total portfolio with that new position. And I wanted to see if I'm correct about that.
We like to put a lot of money in things that we feel strongly about. And that gets back to the diversification question. We think diversification is, as practiced generally, makes very little sense for anyone that knows what they're doing. Diversification is a protection against ignorance. I mean, if you want to make sure that nothing bad happens to you relative to the market, you own everything. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that is a perfectly sound approach for somebody who does not feel they know how to analyze businesses. If you know how to analyze businesses and value businesses, it's crazy to own 50 stocks or 40 stocks or 30 stocks probably, because there aren't that many wonderful businesses that are understandable to a single human being in all likelihood, and to have some super wonderful business and then put money in number 30 or 35 on your list of attractiveness and forego putting more money into number 1 just strikes Charlie and me as madness. And it's conventional practice, and it may, if all you have to achieve is average, it may preserve your job, but it's a confession in our view that you don't really understand the businesses that you own. I mean, on a personal portfolio basis, I own one stock, but it's a business I know, and it leaves me very comfortable. So, do I need to own 28 stocks in order to, have proper diversification? It'd be nonsense. And within Berkshire, I could pick out 3 of our businesses, and I would be very happy if they were the only businesses we owned and I had all my money in Berkshire. Now, I love it, the fact that we can find more than that and that we keep adding to it. But 3 wonderful businesses is more than you need in this life to do very well. And the average person isn't going to run into that. I mean, if you look at how the fortunes were built in this country, they weren't built out of a portfolio of 50 companies. They were built by someone who identified with a wonderful business. Coca-Cola is a great example. A lot of fortunes have been built on that. And there aren't 50 Coca-Colas. There aren't 20. If there were, it'd be fine. We could all go out and diversify like crazy among that group and get results that would be equal to owning the really wonderful one. But you're not going to find it. And the truth is, you don't need it. I mean, if you have a really wonderful business, is very well protected against the vicissitudes of the economy over time and the competition. I mean, we're talking about businesses that are resistant to effective competition, and 3 of those will be better than 100 average businesses. And they'll be safer, incidentally. I mean, there is less risk in owning 3 easy-to-identify wonderful businesses than there is in owning 50 well-known big businesses. And it's amazing what has been taught over the years in finance classes about that. But I can assure you that I would rather pick, if I had to bet the next 30 years on the fortunes of my family that would be dependent upon the income from a given group of businesses, I would rather pick 3 businesses from those we own than own a diversified group of 50. Charlie?
Yeah, what he's saying is that much of what is taught in modern corporate finance courses is twaddle.
Do you want to elaborate on that, Charlie?
You cannot believe this stuff. I mean, it's modern portfolio theory, and yeah, it
has no utility. I mean, it will tell you how to do average, but I think anybody can figure out how to do average in 5th grade. I mean, it's just not that difficult, and it's elaborate, and there's lots of little Greek letters and all kinds of things to make you feel that you're in the big leagues, but there is no value added.
I have great difficulty with it because I am something of a student of dementia, and I have
we hang around a lot together.
And I can ordinarily classify dementia, on some theory structure of models, but the modern portfolio theory, it involves a type of dementia I just can't even classify. No. Something very strange is going on.
Yeah. If you find 3 wonderful businesses in your life, you'll get very rich, and if you understand them, bad things aren't going to happen to those 3. I mean, that's the characteristic of it.
By the way, maybe that's the reason there's so much dementia. If you believe what Warren said, you could teach the whole course in about a week.
Yeah.